Hello, Busters, and welcome to this week's edition of President's Desk. As always, just taking an introspective look into some of our employees on campus and getting to know them a little bit better. This week, I'm always excited to be able to have a chance to talk with our Director of Res Life, but have Christine Dillingham joining us this week. Christine,
Hello.
welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Busy times here for you this semester. So
Very busy time. Very busy time, but busy is good. It's job security, knows we've got a job to do, and we're trucking over there. So
good. That's a great outlook.
yeah.
Now you're no stranger to Garden City Community College. I mean,
No.
outside of working here for several years, you actually started as a student at Garden City Community College. So
Yep.
each week we kind of just start by having a conversation about background and what brought you to Garden City Community College, but maybe kind of give a little bit of a detail there on that.
Sure. So I grew up in Southwest Kansas. I grew up on a farm, just right outside of Garden City, and went to school at Ingalls, and so I'm really familiar with the Southwest Kansas area, and really my sisters and I were really the first generation, with our parents not going to college to further our education. And so I kind of followed my sister's footsteps. They both went to Garden City Community College. My middle sister actually had worked as a work study in a department that at the time was called Continuing Education and Community Services. And so she really got me my first job,
Right.
Other than mowing lawns and babysitting. She got me really my first job as a work study in that department. And I had always had an interest in photography, and so at the time, as an 18-year-old, I had no clue what I wanted to do with my life, but I wanted to do photography, and so Laura Guy now offered me a scholarship to be on the newspaper, and so I got a scholarship to be on the college newspaper. At the time, it was called Silhouette. That was put out every 2 weeks, and loved it. Got promoted up to be a photo editor, learned a lot of great skills, and of course, this was back in the day when we had everything was dark room. We had to develop our own film.
Yep.
We had to make our own prints, all that stuff. So I learned a lot of skills that I don't use at all haven't used ever again, but it was a fun experience.
You still do some photography though as well.
Very little,
Yeah.
more just my own kids,
Yeah.
but not as much as I used to.
Yeah.
But once I graduated, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I was kind of doing a photography business on the side, but nothing lucrative.
Right.
And so I got hired on as the building secretary for math and science. I worked there for a couple months, and then a position actually opened up as the administrative assistant in the continuing education office. So they hired me back in there. So I was a 20-year-old, amongst all these women. We worked in an office of, I think it was 9 women at one time.
Right.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot of phone skills, typing skills, computer skills. Learned a lot while I was there. And so I worked there for 3 years. Decided to further my education. So the college actually had a program at that time. It was an outreach program, I believe, with Friends University and Newman University. So I enrolled at Friends University. It was outreach, and did it all online, and received my bachelor's in business administration in 2008.
Awesome.
At that point, I was kind of restless. I didn't know for sure what I was going to do with my degree. So I applied for the director of Friends of Lee Richardson Zoo here in town, and I got the position. Worked there for 2 years, but I again was a little restless, and it didn't have that feel, that community, family feel that I had here at this college. And so I started getting a little restless. Happened to just pull up your guys' website. I saw that there was going to be a position for an office manager in residential life, and I thought, well, heck, I can handle that. That's easy. I could handle that. And so I applied and came in for an interview and got called shortly after, thank goodness. And Miss Kate was kind of my mentor. She was the director at the time and taught me a lot. I worked under her for 6 years as office manager. One thing I learned is dress for that job, because you never know what you're going to be doing. Every day is different. We're from helping kids mop up a toilet water that just overflowed to having to go to meetings, or every day is different over there, and it's an exciting experience for sure. One thing Kate taught me was how to be a stern authority figure, but at the same time showing passion and showing care and really being these kids as parents away from home, giving them guidance and really helping them along. And so in 2015, you promoted me to the director position when Kate retired, and I now live on campus with my family. So Garden City Community College has been in my life now for almost half my life. So I owe a lot, my career, my education, my livelihood to Garden City Community College. It's given me a lot.
So with all those experiences that you've had, starting here as a student, working within different buildings, and then now moving into the director of residential life, you said you've had half of your life attributed to Garden City Community College. What would you say is the most, what's a success story? What is the best thing about working at Garden City Community College?
How much time do you have? How much time do we have, Mike? I could go, I know that first story was long. You just buckle up because we're going to be here for a while. Oh my gosh. The best thing about working at Garden City Community College is that community and family feel. I get to work, especially in housing, I get to work with everyone across campus. When I worked in the CECS office, I really was very secluded just to that department. But working in residential life, I tell everybody all the time, we're one of the wheels of this college. College really couldn't be as successful as it is without a campus housing. And so I really get to work closely with everyone, and that's awesome. The atmosphere, just the positivity, especially going through this, the leadership that you and our administration has shown and allowed us to be successful, especially year 2020 with COVID going on. And I know we're going to talk about that here soon, but just, knowing that we've got the support and we're being rooted for constantly. And I know this community really backs this college up, and especially being in this college in my life and all that. And I'd say that's definitely one of the best things about this college. Right. One thing I'd like to touch on is COVID-19 has brought to light so much more that this college needs to be proud of. And the amount of passion and care, concern for not only just our students, but for one another. Every meeting you and I have been in with administration and everybody throughout the last, 6 months, 5 months, right. I think every meeting was, how's everybody doing? Because it's not just about the students, which it is, right. But we're here for each other, and that's really, don't tear up on
right.
me. That's really just reminded me why it's so amazing to work here, and it's a great place to work. And I'd say another amazing success story, I have so many of them, like with my past students, past RAs. I get baby announcements, I get wedding announcements, I get graduation, invitations. Oh my gosh, every time I get one, it chokes me up because I'm like, oh my gosh, they're adulting. Yep. They're adulting, their moms, their dads, their husbands, their wives.
Absolutely.
Their careers are blowing up, There's a student in particular here that is now a police officer, and I got to see him grow as a young adult, and I now call him my little brother, although he's probably 6 foot tall, right. Or 6 inches taller than me, but he's still my little brother. And another success story is another RA that she now is actually a teacher at the school my kids are going to. So it's amazing that experience that you get here with these students and those relationships and bonds that you grow with them. Even just in the short 2 years that we get them, those are relationships and ultimately friendships for life. And that's invaluable. I would never trade that for anything.
I guess just from your perspective and role in student housing, talk to us a little bit about what are some of those plans and protocols and things that you put into place to be able to make it a safe and healthy environment for students.
Sure. it's all hands on deck, and that was one thing we were talking about during all those meetings is we're going to have to all be hands on deck, and it's not just me. You know, it's yourself, it's athletics, it's custodial, maintenance, even instructors. We're having to reevaluate our job and what that means at this point, you know, to make sure that these students are successful. You know, one thing that I think we concentrated the most on was, okay, sanitation, you know, housing options. How are we going to do this? I think we talked through how housing is going to look. What are we going to do, you know, in case of a positive case? What are we going to do for quarantine students? And so, you know, one of the first things we did was we designated those isolation spaces. We took those areas and made sure that they were going to be prepared for students that quite possibly would become positive, just to give them a safe space to, you know, do their isolation, get healthy if they are symptomatic, give them, you know, a good spot just to not feel like they're the outcast, but to still make them feel at home, but safe. So that was one of the first things I think we established was those isolation spaces. You know, we worked really closely with maintenance, food service, athletics on what we're going to do if students were quarantined and what that was going to look like. And so, like you said, things change. I think we went through how many plans and tossed them literally within hours of it changing, just, you know, going off of CDC guidelines, KDHE, even the Finney County Health Department, trying to go off of their guidelines the best we could. Maintenance and custodial have been amazing. They're going and spraying bathrooms, hallways, communal areas every single day. They're going in and sanitizing them, you know, which they already have enough on their plate. Like I said, it takes all of us, all hands on deck, and they're going above and beyond making sure that those steps are taken care of. You know, the cafeteria, we made sure that it was set up, you know, for physical distancing, you know, making sure that students had enough spaces to sit, but then also could be safe. And we also offer the grab-and-go meals. And of course, as we know, that's now changed. We're offering grab-and-go only at this point. So I would say those are probably the top points and top priorities that or protocols that we've put into place throughout the year. And of course, tomorrow it probably will change all again, but we're going to do the best we can to keep on top of it.
So I want to step back, you know, to a point that you'd made earlier there, and you know, I think in these conversations that you have, and particularly being here at the college, you never truly know the impact that you have on students. Sometimes you never truly know when it is that you're getting through to them there, or the impact and the relationships that you've built. And you gave a few examples, but maybe expand on that. You know, what advice or guidance can you give to students, or have you given to students, to help them not only being successful at Garden City Community College, but just in life in general?
You know, 2020, I have two young children, my husband Doug, and I have my two kids, Ella and Ian. Excuse me, I'm getting choked up talking about my kids. They live on campus with me. We're among the nit and gritty. Like, we live here, and my kids are getting to see all these changes firsthand. And you know, my husband and I, you know, made the best decision I think we could and sent our kids back to school. And there's those risks sending them back to school. But I want to encourage, and I guess my advice or my information for the students, faculty, instructors, staff, community is, we have to stick together. We have to, while social distancing, stick together and just encourage one another and be positive, and know that as changes come, we're going to do the absolute best that we can. You know, especially, you know, parents at home who've sent their kids here. Please know they're in good hands. You know, our maintenance is passionate, our custodial is passionate, my staff is passionate, our leadership is passionate. We're student-centered, and we're going to make sure that we do everything that we possibly can to make sure that they're successful. For the students that are here now, behave yourself, wear your mask, social distance, listen to us, you know, make our jobs a little easier, so we don't have to chase you down, and make sure you're doing what you're doing, but hang in there. You know from a daughter that just graduated, I feel horrible for some of these kids that didn't get their senior year experiences like
Right.
they should have, that they were owed, that they deserved.
Right.
And so a lot of these kids came here without those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And then now their first college experience is kind of, you know, it's not at all
Not
what they were.
envisioned. Yeah.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not at all what they wanted.
Yeah.
You know, we've had limited activities and social events and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But I'm going to say this, and I hope it's correct, but this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just gotta, this is our bump in our road, and we gotta stick together and stay positive and encourage one another. And that's not just us encouraging the students. I want the students to encourage each other.
Right.
You know, if you see a student maybe distancing themselves or locking themselves up or not going to class or really not being themselves, please reach out to that student. Please give that
Right.
student, you know, information for counseling services, which we have amazing counseling services. And you had mentioned counseling.
Right.
I definitely am an ear to listen, but I want these kids to reach out, you know, if they do need help.
In the aim of continuous improvement, what are some thoughts or the things that you have kind of on the horizon for future improvements and ways of advancing residential life at Garden City Community College?
Well, I feel at this point we can only improve, right? Definitely. You know, there's always the structural improvements that we need to maintain. We have quite a few things, you know, on the list of my wish list of things that we really want to improve. I work really closely with Derek Ramos, with the maintenance director. He and I work really closely about that list of my wish list.
Right.
He's pretty good about, like, Christine, you know, that's not going to be realistic this year, but let's look at that here in the future. And so one big thing that we actually hopefully will be meeting with soon is improving our landscaping over in our housing area, right in our, we call it the courtyard.
Right.
But trying to do some beautification over there,
Great.
especially now more than ever. Kids want to be outside because they
Right.
don't want to be stuck inside. So really giving them an extended living space outside, I think, would be beneficial for them, for
Awesome.
sure. So,
Well, you know, I think just kind of summarizing, I mean, you talk about it being a family, you know, a family unit here at the college, and your role, it truly is a family affair, you know, with your husband and your kids living on campus.
Yep.
But, you know, just on behalf of everybody here at the college, we appreciate the
Thank
role
you.
and the work that you do, and it's been great to have a chance to visit with you.
thank you. Well, a lot of us could not succeed, and it takes leadership to point us in the right direction. So I really, truly appreciate your leadership.